let's increase our tentacles and see what's going on outside just Nigeria, but of course as it affects Nigeria and the African continent, and that's the Trump tariff as well as the peace talks are supposed to be going on in Saudi Arabia and other parts of the world to bring an end to the war in Ukraine. Of course, we're going to just look at how that could affect us. We have joining us for this conversation, Dr. Ifeanyi Uba is the head investment research at Commercial Partners. Dr. Uba, good afternoon and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.
So we've seen a lot of sheikhs movements coming to the world. Just yesterday, President Donald Trump has hinted on the possibility of another 25% tariff on automobiles and chip makers. But looking at where Nigeria is, where Africa is, have we started feeling the impact of this, or can we say we will feel the impact of this tariff trade war that seems to be raging?
Well, the global economy is so linked that we would not, we will be doing ourselves a disservice to say we're not going to feel the impact of these policy movements. We're already seeing retaliatory movements from China and retaliatory movement from Mexico. But more importantly, we are seeing the actions on the price of commodities. We are seeing how hawkish or the bullish momentum gold has been maintained with slight profit taking. Is a little, I see little people shorting gold at levels it is. Our price target for gold was around 3,000 in half year, and right now gold is trading around 2,933, showing that this tension in geopolitical tensions and tariff talks is adding pressure to the commodity prices. And given the geopolitical length and the way central banks have been decelerating their dollar reserves, we are seeing the gold having to maintain this uptick and maintain this bullish momentum.
Mm. So we spoke to our correspondent earlier today in the United States, and she told us that it seems a lot of uncertainty when you look at investor sentiment. Even consumers seem to be uncertain at this time. Can we say that sentiment has spread to other parts of the world?
Yes, so we've seen a lot of data come out within the first month of the year, and we saw a decline in retail sales of 0.9%, showing that the resilience of the United States is being put to test in terms of continuous purchase and continuous growth in GDP. A big part of the US economy, the credit and availability and the movement of the monetary policy affects and it moves the direction is to making the economy the right direction. Although Donald Trump has explicitly said that he is going to reduce the interest rate, we are seeing that the monetary policy is being less quick to reduce this interest rate due to these tariffs. And this tariff is having a trickle effect on inflation because, as we projected in our outlook, increased geopolitical tension and increased tariff would added pressure to the inflationary measures that the United States are trying to reduce. So if they are having threats of inflation, it's going to be very difficult for the monetary policy to start easing. That is why most analysts don't think there's going to be a rate cut within the first half of the year.
Mm. So the WTO DG had warned that if the world goes this path of tariffs and counter tariffs and retaliatory tariffs, that we could have double-digit losses on GDP globally. Um, does it look like we are close to that threat, or do you think that perhaps the world can escape it?
Well, what we see now is Donald Trump coming to the global stage and making sure everybody knows he's a big player. Even though he has reiterated that tariffs are going to be a major part of the US economy, and we understand the negative impact on the growth. I still am optimistic in the medium to long term that there will be crucial deals met that will be able to lead to sustainable growth. As we see that his posture is that of reduction in wars, while the other administration might have been funding the wars. He is looking for ways to try and cut that funding and reach a peace agreement. So reaching a peace agreement and reducing the amount of wars in the world could also still significantly affect the growth. So it's a dicey situation to see, but we need more data and more forward guidance to actually know the true impact on GDP. But one thing is sure, it's definitely bearish.
Hmm. Well, we hope that can balance out with, as you said, he seems to be looking for peace, even though, we also have fears around that because we see it seems Europe, which is closely related to Ukraine, seems to be excluded. Even now, we've heard President Zelensky said he's not going to Saudi Arabia because he thinks that perhaps the U.S. is having some arrangement with Russia that may not be of benefit to them. But hopefully this peace talk starts. Hopefully it does bear fruit. Can it reduce the tension that perhaps the trade war could bring? And could it take us back to the Ukraine-Russia war? Because we know what happened to logistics when this war started.
Well, it's an interesting factor to examine. Could we get back to pre Ukraine war period? It's hard to tell given the impact and the effects of the wars right now. One thing is sure, um, Russia being out of the oil markets, and if a peace deal is being reached, we might see Russia enter into the oil market. One thing I would like to know is how this deal will be reached and what will be the participation on Russia in terms of commodities. As we know, one of the fallouts of the war was that the Russian rubles now became a payment system for the oil. Aside from that, it was only the US dollar, and prior to last year, only the US dollar was being used to trade oil. But a peace deal might mean that Russia might need to trade back with the US dollar. And given that Russia already in alliance with the BRICS, the geopolitical tension around this whole issue is very dicey. And we all saw what Emmanuel Macron wrote in the Economist interview when he was interviewed in the Economist, sounding the alarm about Europe being in dire concern because of the movement of Donald Trump. Well, on his argument, they had 3 years to fix it and they did nothing. So he taking the bold steps to go and meet the person that everybody is scared of might build more fruit. So I feel what we are facing right now is a knee-jerk reaction. So much tension, so much volatility. But the way the world is interconnected, we cannot easily forget. And remembering does not mean it has to be a bad scenario for everybody.
Can Africa get a little opportunity to maximize some of its potentials amidst all of this giant trade war?
Yes, certainly. Part of the side effects of this trade war was a reduction in purchase from Ghana or a reduction in exports from Ghana to places like Russia, and we could increase participation to that particular country, increase sales to that country, and as they enter back into the fold of the financial space. Remember that prior to this war, one of the effects of the war was being kicked out of the SWIFT system and isolating them. So having them enter into the international global space will mean more African countries can sell or whatever they want to Russia.
All right, Dr. Ifeanyi will look, of course, to what's going to happen next. The peace talks and the tariff threats seem to be coming in different phases, and we do hope, as you said, that there will be a bit of compromise and agreement so the world doesn't lose that double digits of its GDP as the World Trade Organization DG had warned. Dr. Ifeanyi is a head investment research at Commercial Partners. Thank you for your time.
Thanks,